Hi friends, I'm excited to share the latest collab between BOBO'S and Bisyodo. These beautiful kolinksy brushes. When I saw these on her Instagram, I gasped as always. In addition, Bobo was kind enough to send me number 3 from her Koyudo collab, that beautiful red Canadian squirrel and Tuckahoe fusion eye set, the one I have here. If you want to check out that video where I demo each brush, show close-ups, I will link that up in the card and down below in the description box. But I wanted to be here with you live in action while using these kolinksy brushes, and I have the card here that Bobo sent. Allow me to read a few details about this collab. Thank you very much for choosing Bobo and Bisyodo makeup brushes. We have combined with BOBO'S to create this set using the highest quality kolinksy hair. If you're not familiar with kolinksy hair, it is a premium grade bristle that is beautifully resilient with creams and liquids, powders as well. But if it's your first time considering buying a kolinksy brush, especially for the eyes, for the face, forget it. It's just dream worthy. It's stiff, but it's silky and soft at the same time. I know it's hard to explain. It's almost like elastic silk. Yes, brace yourself. These are special brushes because they are handmade by us. We are proud to have them in your collection, and please use them for a long time. Yes, we will. The wood is rosewood, and you probably saw in the close-ups just the beautifully lacquered detail. You have here Bobo and Bisyodo on the bottom of the handle, the brass ferrule, and this is one of the blender brushes. I'll show you close-ups as well. We'll hop into the demo, but I'm ecstatic because I have Lightwork 6 pulled up. I consider those textures to be hybrid ones, where it's not a cream, but it's kind of like a powder cream, and I wanted to show how the kolinksy brushes manage with those types of consistencies. And I have my YSL on standby, as well as the Kulfi Zari eyeshadow pot in Sitara Sparkles. So we have a bunch of different mediums we can mess with in using these beautiful tools with, but just wanted to say how gracious I am to Bobo for receiving this gift. And she also was kind enough to send me those brush holders you saw in the footage, because I asked her, I'm like, because I want something to display these brushes in where I'm not lying them flat on my desk, and she was so kind to include those in the package. And I wanted to highlight the fact that one of these brushes, I believe, let's see here, the medium sized brush, the smaller shader brush that you'll get a close-up with soon, handcrafted by Master Takeshi. And to know that these shapes are just insightful in terms of the construction and the design is not just bundling a bunch of bristles together. The way that it's done to get these specific shapes, these specific dimensions, is beyond my comprehension. And now to have these tools in my hand to try them on my eyes, can you sense the excitement? I hope so. I am an affiliate of FudeBobo.com. Again, thank you to Bobo for the opportunity, and the links you'll find down in the description box under these brushes will be affiliated. I just wanted to put that out there. You don't have to buy any of these brushes, but I just wanted to say thank you in advance, even if you don't buy anything, even if you just click my link to shop around and to browse Bobo's site. I thank you in advance. We thank you in advance for giving her website a chance and just taking a look around, because my goodness, she just has beautiful tools. Now that we have our details out the way, it's time for you to come in a little closer. I have to start with this one. I believe this particular brush is included in a set. It is your typical shader, again with kolinksy, but you see the tiering here, that it has a slight point to it, but overall an oval shape, flat on both sides. But you see that flexibility and that stiffness. Again, stiffness doesn't necessarily equate to being rough on the eyes. Kolinksy is incredibly silky, and despite its stiffer nature as opposed to a squirrel brush or even some goat hair brushes, it still glides through the skin or on the skin in a way that is capable of blending your eyeshadow and not just responsible for plopping it down on the lids. And the reason why I wanted to use Lightwork 6 is because if you happen to have Lightwork 6, and I spoke about this in my beginner tutorial approach video where it's important to have the right tools. And although Danessa formulated these textures to be finger friendly, if you're not one to use fingers for eyeshadow application and you rather use a brush, I think Kolinksy is a great way to go. So I have a little bit of concealer. I just kind of swiped it on when I applied it here under my eyes. And let's see what we can go in with. I'm thinking one of the multi-chromes perhaps. So I'm pulling something here from the pink sextet, and I'm wiggling back and forth in order to pick up adequate product, right? Because these don't do well in just swiping here. I mean, not just with the Kolinksy brush, but with any brush. You'll be more successful in picking up ample product if you go back and forth so the bristles can actually grab the eyeshadow and taking that right across the lid. And this is a much softer lay down of color, and I think that's great because if you wanted to apply a multi-chrome but you didn't want it to be in your face multi-chrome, then I think this is a great brush to achieve that with. And as I had explained prior, you could just turn the brush on its side to pull that color through the crease and use the tip here to pull some under the lash line. So that's a little bit of a multi-chrome moment, but I think you could probably detect how this brush will do well with one and done eye looks where you just slap it on the lid, pull some color through the crease and call it a day. It's also quite large enough for precision work here under the eyes for concealer, maybe some precision work around the nostrils or on portions on the face where you need a little bit of coverage. And just to quickly demonstrate that, I have my LYS skin tint stick on standby. I could go straight from stick to brush and just apply the tint where I need it, because again, Kolinksy is great with creams and liquids. So these eye brushes don't necessarily have to exclusively be used with eye products of all sorts. You can certainly swoop over to the complexion category and get fun with the concealer, maybe with some graphic work if you like. Maybe you're not even into concealer or foundation like that, but you like to carve around the brows just to clean up a little discoloration or redness there. Whatever the situation is, this brush is highly versatile, as you probably have already detected. But now I wanted to hop into Sitara Sparkles because Kolinksy is known for that even application of lay down when you apply shadow on the lids. And as I had demonstrated in my Sephora haul video, I think it's best to first pull out product and place it on the back of my hand or a palette, because I think this is the best setup to ensure the product is evenly distributed on the brush and then taking it over the lid. And that's it. We're done. Goodbye. But it's incredibly soft. And the reason why I say that is because this moussey texture, not just with Kolinksy, but with any brush, it can be hard to grab because it's so soft. So you can try to scoop some in a way that gets on the brush, you see there. And once you've achieved that, you can go straight on the lid again, tap, and then sweep the brush through the crease. I can't begin to tell you how soft this brush feels despite it being stiff. You can feel the strength, but also a little bit of flexibility at the bristle tip where it's not so stiff that it can't move successfully around the contours of your eyes. And yes, it might be harder to pick up these moussier textures, but I think if again you prep it on the back of your hand or on a palette, you could just warm up the product as I did here and return to the eyes like so, and you just have a soft serving of the shadow where I think this is more than daily friendly. I have some blush and bronzer on, a little highlighter on, a little lip on, hop on with the mascara and you're done. But you have such an interesting shift on the lids. So let's wipe that down and head over to, yes, we got 2 left. Well, we have 3 left. We have to try our Yoshiki brush because we got to see this in action. But I need to see this in action because to have a blender brush with Kolinksy hair, look how that moves across the skin. I think this is fantastic, definitely for harder to move textures that you wish to have in the crease. And why don't I hop into the pink shade here? This is the Satin Soft Matte, and you see that's adequate pickup with this brush. Now lightly start on the outer third and gently bring that color through the crease. Now this is a lot stiffer of a brush. It's not going to leave behind a diffused effect like a tool that has more of a fluffy quality to it, that has a little more movement, a little more of a widespread action of the bristles, if you will. So the finish on the eyes will appear tighter by nature. And I just wanted to point that out because if you prefer more of that fluffed out effect, just as an example here, let me grab, well, I have it right here. From the Yoshiki collab, this blender brush, you see how it's just more fluffy. See how the splay there is a lot more than the splay here with the Kolinksy. It's a lot tighter, where if you wanted more of a blown out effect, you'll use not so much a softer brush because the Kolinksy bristle is beautifully soft, but just a brush that's not as stiff and it's not as dense. But if you like a tighter serving of crease color where you don't like it to appear blown out, that you want it to appear more precise, because that's definitely a look, right? I've seen that on creases that are not feathered and diffused, but they just appear more precise, more like geometric, if you will. So that is what we have with that soft satin matte. And this brush is just outrageous. I would even go so far to say, like I had explained with the medium, I guess you would consider this more large, Alicia, that you can use this for complexion steps too. This will be great for under the eyes. If you're not one to apply concealer or a little bit of tint, what have you, under the eyes with a flat brush, but you like the windshield motion of things to blend your concealer with this type of brush, why not? Also, we could try that with Satara Sparkles. And you know what? Let me get my little spatula. Hold on. I want to scoop out a little bit of Satara Sparkles and place that again on the back of my hand. Use our round blender to get the product in the bristles. Then return to our lid and just pull that through the crease. So if you wanted this texture through the crease, you most certainly can use this brush for that purpose. And my goodness, I couldn't ask for a more even application. Look at that. We got shine everywhere, man. And now we have our smaller brush, and I can place these together for comparison. You see that this guy is significantly larger, right? Let me put this in front. And probably double the size of this smaller medium, and similar in shape. And you probably suspected that this will be fantastic for inner corner highlight, for accent dazzling on the lid. If you have smaller lids and you looked at that first brush, you're like, ooh, that's big, maybe for my face, but what about the eyes? This shape is great for the eyes, where you can certainly sweep this across the lid like I did for these 2 looks, call it a day, pull it through the crease, because this might not have the same amount of movement quality as that first brush, but there is some present. You most certainly can get away with a nice smooth blend once you plop down a lid color, turn the brush on its side, and then carve through the crease successfully, no problem. I think we should change gears and use a powder. I know Kolinksy is goated for creams and liquids, but if we want versatility, I'm sure you would use these tools with a variety of different finishes and textures. Why not? Maybe you started with a cream shadow and you just wanted to finish the look. Hopping back into my beloved YSL mini clutch eyeshadow palette in Babylon Roses, I picked up this plum matte, and using the medium shader, just tapping on the outer corner and relying on the tip of the brush to gently diffuse the edges in a way that I don't need to necessarily swirl and twirl to have that effect. I can just tap and pull carefully. And yes, this is not going to be the same as a softer shader for sure. I can only imagine a gray squirrel shader will have more flexibility, right? And will probably have a softer delivery of color. But if you want a little higher dose of color, Kolinksy is gonna deliver that 100%. And this is more ideal for precision work here under the lash line. I'm just bringing it like 3/4 in there for a little more shading. And I wanted to save this eye to showcase the work of number 3 because we have to see this beautiful pencil brush in action. I'll also show the comparison with the smaller dome pencil brush that's in that Yoshiki collection. But let's finish the look here using the same brush, and I'll use both. How about I hop back into Lightwork 6, pick up a little bit of this halo something something, which a lot easier to grab, right? These softer multi-chromes that are just cushiony in texture, I think across the board are tougher to pick up with all types of brushes, even synthetic, right? The more traditionally formulated shadows or even the hybrids that lean more powdery are just far easier to pick up with the Kolinksy brush. And with that shade, I'll tap it here on my inner corner, gently grazing over Sitara Sparkles and pulling it carefully through the inner arc. This picks up nice that these translucent halo textures, and I can only imagine the ones similar are more successful in my opinion for the pickup strategy. But man, that's pretty. And tapping that on the center of the lid, and you see that just brings a little more boost of shine from the center. And I am enjoying what's happening here on this inner corner, my heavens. And I think it's small enough to also carry, I'm hopping back into that neon pink shade. Maybe not as precise naturally as a smaller brush would perform here on this section of the eye, but I don't mind it to drop a little bit because that really pulls my inner corner forward. My goodness. And for kicks, I could hop back in with my blender without any additional product. I am carefully rubbing this on my towel with a clean brush and just finishing the edges here. Again, no extra eyeshadow, just smoothing the edges out because again, this is an interesting brush. I love it simply because of its stiffer nature, but it's a blender and it's round. And the dome is round as you can see. So the surface area contact is more than what you would get with the pointed design. And I feel it's great for finishing, but also for more precise crease work. Heading into this beautiful Red Canadian and high-grade Tuckahoe mix pencil brush, and compared to the smaller dome brush that was in the original eye set, you can see that not only is this slightly bigger, but it has more of a pointed finish to the shape, and the second one, or the first one included in the set, is smaller and more domed on the round tip. And I think I probably showed this in the original demo that this is fantastic for outer corner precision placement, especially if you have smaller eyes, but you love the smoke out effect. This is great for plopping down shadow here in a controlled fashion where it doesn't run away from you, and you can use the same brush to carry shadow here under the lower lash line and still keep it tight to that line and not have it diffuse low. What I want to do, however, I'm trying to use as many shadows and whatnot as I can because we've had an influx of new products. What do I want to use? Oh, Luminous Legends. Let me get it. Why not? Why not? We can definitely go matte. Let's see how this performs with the matte, and newsflash, is going to do wonderfully. I'll hop into the plummy dark brown here and start tapping. It's not even, I used the wrong brush, sorry. We're gonna go back to the start of the show, back into this shadow, and yes, it's okay, we already have shadow there, but I wanted to show how this pointed dome pencil brush can be fantastic for outer corner placement, especially if you have smaller eyes, because I think a challenge that smaller hooded eyes have is to use a tool that's large enough but small enough at the same time to smoke out the outer corner without it looking nuts. And the advantage you have with using a brush with a tip like this is where you can rely on the flat round side of the brush here to lay down the product, but then use the more flexible tip of the brush to pull product through the crease and now to shape it out from your lash line into that more winged shadow look. And look at that. You see what I mean? And now using the same brush to pull some shadow here under the lash line, this will appear a lot more diffused than the smaller Bisyodo brush, just to let you know, right? This was a lot more tighter and more concentrated when I plopped down the YSL shadow. This appears more diffused, in my opinion, just because the tip of the brush is flexible and doesn't have the same surface area coverage as the Bisyodo brush does. But isn't that just lovely? Stop it right now. And we can also use this brush. Allow me to just gently wipe here so we don't have that same shadow. Now on the inner corner is where I would like to go. And I'll pick up, these are tough textures because they're creamy. They're kind of resemble what's in Lightworks. I'm not saying in terms of finish. Okay, don't kill me. I'm saying in terms of the consistency and the texture of the shadows. Let's pick up something like this, the lilac shade. I think that'll be lovely here with what we already have going on with the pink. Ooh, oh, that picked up a lot. Maybe I spoke too soon. Maybe the lilac is more powdery in nature. I have no idea. Oh my goodness. So the point of this part of the demonstration is to showcase how successful this shape can be for inner arc placement, right? And I think you could probably get away with inner corner highlight as well. I would probably end up using the smaller eyeshadow liner brush that, yes, for liner shadow, but also great for more inner corner highlight precision. This is going to be your friend if you wanted a more distinct color here on the inner arc of the eye, and if you needed to return, you know, scenario, if you decided to buy all 4 of these brushes, you could use your Bisyodo Collab brush and refine the edges here on the inner arc. I could also go back into Danessa's palette, pick up maybe this shade here, or even go back to the first shade. What did I use? Yes, I did this shade here. Going back and forth, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle to get a little bit of product, and then back on the inner lid we go to just bring everything together. And now pulling in this like bronzy color here on the inner part of my eye, and I'm using the Bisyodo brush because I think the Kolinksy bristles are more successful with these creamier textures. But returning to my Koyudo Yoshiki eyeshadow brush to pull those shadows together under the lash line. You see how that moves across? And I'll show you again close up on my hand. This tip is beautifully flexible and ideal for blending as well as placement. So again, you use the body of the brush to pick up product, to place it not only on the outer corner, but you could also use this to whip color across your entire lid and then take the tip of the brush to finish those edges to the crease and carry a little color here under the lash line and be done. Isn't that extraordinary? Do you want to see that in action? I know you do. So let me just take this off. Here is, you know I don't have any lashes on, but this was mainly to showcase the brush's capabilities. I just wanted to wipe one lid off and show you how the Yoshiki number 3 can be your one and done brush despite its pencil shape. I'll be back in a minute. All right, we're back with the bare lid, and before I continued, I thought, why don't I press record and show you a complexion moment with the larger Bisyodo eye brush and just take a little bit of the LYS skin tint and place that all over my lid, and look how quick that was. I wouldn't recommend you use a skin tint for eye prep. This is just for demoing purposes. Please use a dedicated eye primer that will ensure your shadows do not fade under like 5 minutes and will stay opaque and crisply dazzling on the lids. But Ain't that great? You could just carry this around inner corner, lower lash line with your concealer product. Now, what was I going to do? Yes, back to our Yoshiki brush, which you probably have already suspected, where I'm flipping from Kolinksy to Red Canadian Squirrel Tuckahoe Hybrid. This is mainly used with powders. If you want the creams and liquids, Kolinksy with those formulas, exclusively powder with the Red Canadian Squirrel and Tuckahoe mix. With that said, why don't I hop into, you know what? Let's do some Prada. The question is, which Prada shadow should we do? I think I have to hop into Portrait. This refill here, the one with the orchid shade. You can never go wrong with this. I did not purchase, I think it wasn't Pulse, it was Pulp. I was taking a look at the Pulp refill during the Sephora sale, which is going on still, by the way. But let's not get distracted. Going in with my Yoshiki number 3 and taking this middle shade, as I, again, wanted to demonstrate how successful we can be in using this smaller pointed brush to place shadow all across the lid. Well, that was pretty easy. Is that a testament to, yes, how fantastic these Prada shadows are? Sure. But I think also speaks to the beautiful construction that is this pencil brush, and using the barrel shape to place color all over the lid, and then the tip finishes that powder through the crease just organically. I didn't have to do nothing. It reminds me of Sonia's brush, her Kakishibu Kiyaki brush. Of course, this guy has a much finer point and is a little smaller. So this will be more appropriate, suitable for larger lids like myself, sure. But I think I could still get away with this size despite that. And hopping back into, you know what, we're just going to do the entire eye. I'll pick up this dark brown shade and start to build my outer corner in the same fashion that I demonstrated with that first demo. Again, using the tip to pull that color through the crease and see how that naturally defines the shape just because of the brush. And while I understand, because of the tip, is not going to leave behind as diffuse of a finish as it would if you use this guy. Now, if you happen to have the entire Yoshiki set and you're eyeing the number 3, you could just use your diffuser brush to finish those edges, and that's what it will yield. Also, to know, if you have a little bit of a mess going on, you could use your Bisyodo Collab brush to clean that up. But let's finish with this look, shall we? I'll take this rose gold here, and I'll start to place that on the inner corner. And again, this brush fits perfectly into my inner corner dip, and the tip of the brush just carries that highlight a little higher through the arc. I have a little left over from our first demo, no problem. I could also take our orchid shade here, which is something that I remember the Prada Beauty artist suggested, that these, or the texture of the colorful shades in the Prada quads, are meant to be lightweight and soft, layerable, so that you don't have to worry about them overtaking the entire look, that you could just gently invite these colors and they kind of give you a whisper or something without it being like, oh my gosh, what's happening? So pulling through the orchid there, so you can have a little bit of that soft orchid shading. I'm also picking up the rose gold and I'm placing that on the lid. So again, this is just to show how versatile this little brush is despite its pencil shape. I think it's large enough to pick up shadow and to apply it on the lid, and also to blend it through the crease to smoke out your outer lid, and to have some shadow here, although a little hazy, under the lash line. And I just realized I have to apply some concealer here under this eye. I don't think I took anything off from when I wiped off my lid, but just for insurance sake, I'll use my Bisyodo brush to quickly demonstrate how now Because if you're one to apply eyeshadow before your concealer and foundation, and you need to carve around the eyeshadow, this brush right here. Also, a little more precision here on the brow arch. Okay, now that we have the eyes done, let's pop on the lashes and I'll be right back with my final thoughts. And here are the final looks from our demo using 2 collab brush sets today. The Bobo and Bisyodo collab, as well as the addition to the Yoshiki collab eyeshadow set. And I think you probably assumed from this entire video that I'm crazy about these tools, and to have these just beautifully constructed Kolinksy eye brushes, or I'll just say brushes, because you technically can use these on any part of your face that you see fit. I could only imagine, in addition to the eyes, around the face, on the lips, if you wanted to do gradient lip work with liquid lipsticks and liners, whatever the case might be, and just have a ball. And I can say that you will not be disappointed in any of these choices, but I understand these Kolinksy brushes are on the higher price side, and if you needed to choose one, I definitely would go with the larger shader, only because you can get away with not only eyeshadow application but concealer application, as you saw, precise foundation work on blemishes around the nose, on smaller areas of your face, and cover again so many makeup tasks with just one brush. Again, that is resilient with creams, liquids, as well as powders, and can clean easily with a towel or microfiber towel. And yes, you will have to clean it more frequently if you are a professional artist and is using this brush on multiple people. So Kolinksy is great, but to have Kolinksy in these shapes specifically, I think they are just beautifully thought out and can find their way anywhere in your makeup routine. And I think just encourage that experimentation, not only with where you use these brushes on your face, but which textures you use them with, be it not only just eyeshadow, but maybe you use this brush for highlighting purposes. If you want that spotlight effect from the cheekbone, maybe you use this small pencil brush as I showed for one and done looks, and you've never considered using a brush like this for one and done looks. You primarily use a brush like this, where you would naturally gravitate toward a fluffy shader such as this, and also from the Yoshiki set, where it's flat on both sides, round at the tip. Naturally, you could imagine you pick up product, slap it on the lid, pull it through the crease, but this also can achieve those blending tasks on a smaller scale. So I understand this is more precise, but I was able to do it, and I have pretty large eyelids, so I just wanted to convey that to you, and have to end the video, of course, with thanking Bobo again for her generous nature, for her notes, her cards, and everything in between. And if you take any interest in these brushes, I would love to know what you think down below. And if you made it this far, consider liking the video. This suggests to YouTube that you are interested in seeing more of my videos, and they'll be recommended in your feed. Yay! If you want to see more brush videos, I have plenty on my channel. Make sure to check out my playlist, and also subscribe so you hit that notification bell and know when my next brush review is uploaded. And I will see you again next time.